Hello, guys, gals, non-binary pals, designer babies, universal robots, and other. Welcome to the Sci-fi Lab. I'm your host, DJ Squared, and with me is my co-host,
Harper.
And with us is our labsters,
Alex,
Brick,
Zohar,
and Josh.
Yep. And sometimes Skynet is real. Is it though?
I would hope not. Skynet is very mean in the Terminator movies. It is very rude. Actually, I recently. No, by recently I mean it was last night, and I was thinking about going to bed, and I thought, you know what, I would rather do this instead. I read I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, and man, like supercomputers that take away the world, they are the meanest. They're very rude, and I don't appreciate them. I feel like Skynet would be the same way.
Yeah, but you have heard about how like Google took out "Don't be evil" from its like
terms and conditions or whatever.
Like,
but why?
Like
those are perfectly good.
Like,
those are good. Keep those in.
It was an unofficial motto.
Yeah, it's like
I mean,
it's like an
it's still a good guideline.
Like,
It's a good guideline.
It's a good guideline.
Just don't be evil.
I mean,
did they actually have that as one of their guidelines
when they first started?
Yeah.
It was an unofficial motto.
Yeah, it's just don't be evil.
Oh,
And
maybe they just took it out
That's
because
a little
now they
disturbing.
need to be.
Yeah, they took it out now, and they're listening right now as we're recording this. Like we're not posting this live, so.
Does anyone have Google Home?
Various Google.
I will say, the person who lives to the left of me, I didn't know they existed. I never hear them ever. Except for at the same time every night they scream down at their Google Home to set an alarm clock for the next morning.
Are you in the
screams.
dorms?
Yes.
Which
I'm
dorm?
in an apartment. I'm in Nelson Shell. It's incredibly annoying because it's like at 1 or 2 in the morning, this person will scream, "Hey, Alexa, do this," and then Alexa will scream back, "Okay, I've set an alarm for 6 a.m. And it's so annoying.
Oh.
That is really funny because I recently learned that there is a whisper function.
Yeah.
And that it will
Yes,
whisper
and
back
people
to
should
you.
use
They
it,
should use.
though.
I agree.
Please use your whisper function. Like, listen, they're already always listening, but we don't have to hear them.
Am I the only person disturbed by whispering robots, though?
Okay, that is actually kind of creepy.
You've got a point, but like they're already always listening, so you might as well not be able to hear them back.
One day, though, it's gonna whisper, "Harper, I'm coming to get you." Like,
Alright.
I guess.
Like
my-
Sky-
Okay.
again back to Skynet. It's
Your
gonna
heartbeat is elevated.
I
Oh no!
your It's like your like Google Home will connect to your Fitbit. Just like,
Your heartbeat is elevated. Is everything all right?
I don't know, whispering robots could be kind of cute. They're just trying to be polite.
Okay, alright. I mean, I'm down for robots don't have to be evil, but I think anything that whispers is creepy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really care
like
what the
especially
context is.
if you automated it to whisper, because that's not like it trying to be like polite.
That'd be like robot
specific.
ASMR though, like Alexa, read me some ASMR.
I was
You're
about
not
to say
having
about that.
No.
Imagine we have artificial intelligence that can generate basic news stories like reporting on stocks and things like that. So imagine if they could auto-generate ASMR, and I don't like ASMR, so that to me just sounds bizarre.
Yeah.
Well, there's one ASMR video I like. It's what is it? Todd Howard. Talks to you in the bathroom during a Fleetwood Mac concert. It's very good. But
Wait,
man.
I thought you said you didn't like it. Why would you?
Well, just that one. Just
that one.
Just that one, because he apologizes to Fallout 4 like he should.
Only Todd Howard in the bathroom.
Exactly.
I definitely have some misophonia or whatever it's called, and so I just can't stand those like lip smacking
Yes.
sounds.
Yes. It makes
And
me
the
so.
eating.
My
No,
sister's like that.
Yeah, like that's the thing. If like robots do try to take over the world, they can do it, and they can do it by targeting our sensory issues.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Like you don't have to shoot anyone because you can just play the lip smacking sound, and all of us will just be like, "I give, bro. I give."
You got me.
You're not wrong.
Just whispering and smacking in your ear as you curl up into a ball.
This would be. That would be such a.
That's future torture.
That would be
That
such
is.
a dystopic future because I feel like communication should be improved by no longer having the human mouth involved in it. But no, if AI can still smack their lips, that'll be just wrong.
They can make that sound.
Yeah.
But without
Yeah. You've just isolated the thing I hate about people talking and put it into a robot. I'm a little bit stressed.
Oh my gosh.
No robotic plosives for you?
No.
Okay. All right.
Robots with lips. I don't know. I feel like
Okay, alright.
That's my new band name?
Yeah, that's the interesting part about animatronics. Something that I really like in the way of animatronics is the Hall of Presidents at Disney World. I really like it there. It was ruined recently, but I was still really liking it there. And the interesting part about the animatronics, especially because they have Abraham Lincoln give the Gettysburg Address, and you can watch his mouth move, and that is interesting. The way that animatronics artists capture how like the human mouth moves, because it's very different from other parts of the human body.
And it's also different based on culture.
Yes.
So like, have you
Absolutely.
seen those like infographics about how like Americans have their tongue right behind the back of their top teeth, while like Russians have them laying flat at the bottom of their mouth?
even within English, the way people pronounce sounds can involve so many different variations on where you put the tongue.
Put the tongue, put the lip movements, like it's facial musculature is wild.
It is wild.
Yeah.
It is.
I'm in a linguistics class right now, and our professor was talking about how she makes R sounds by turning her tongue sideways.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Which is kind of strange.
I'm not sure how I feel about that.
How? I
don't know. I've tried.
I mean, like, human beings also, like, have you ever met those people who can do, like, weird things with their tongue?
Yes.
Like, fold it in
What is
half or
with
make it into,
tongues?
like, a clover shape?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Like, that's gonna be how you can tell humans apart from androids, is can you do weird shit with your tongue?
Well, I can't do anything with my tongue. Does that make me a robot?
Not yet.
Good. No, we were like, in one of my classes, we were doing cranial nerves, and we got very deep into facial movement and also tongue movement, and just talking about the fact that you don't constantly choke and bite your tongue while you're trying to talk and how actually complicated that is. I don't like tongues.
And the,
I'm just not a big fan.
That we do all of that automatically. Like,
It's crazy. It's actually so complicated.
You can't try to do that.
Yeah.
It's just...
It's freaking me out now.
Sorry.
I'm
The
like
human
so worried
body's
my
freaking
tongue
me
right
out.
now. I'm like,
It's
oh,
as soon
stop
as the
being in
professor
there.
said
Yes,
that,
I don't
every
like it.
single person around me started trying to like do all the things he said we couldn't do, like swallow while also inhaling, and like doing all these different things. He's like,
Why?
"Can
That
you
sounds
bite
so
your tongue while
painful."
talking?" Like, I'm like, "No, I can't do this. I don't know how."
Yeah. Because sometimes it just happens. Like...
Who would want to swallow while inhaling? Like,
You just to
Like-
see if you could. That was the whole.
But-
Sounds like a way to get hiccups or something.
It sounds like a way to choke yourself.
yeah,
I mean,
sounds like a
yes.
little joke.
But yeah, no, the human body is a nightmare.
And I am incredibly grossed out by it.
When we can get, downloaded into robot bodies. Like,
Yes. Oh my gosh, there's a
With
fantastic story. No.
no!
Well,
First of all, my robot body is
Oh
going to
my
be like a
God.
dragon, so no what's involved.
There we go. I'm ready for Human 2.0.
I have been beyond ready for not human bodies. There's a short story. It's called, I think it's just called They're Made of Meat. It's
Oh,
the
yeah.
trippiest
Yes,
thing.
I've
I
read
hate
it.
it
Oh my gosh.
so much.
It's so...
Oh.
Oh, God.
It's like a first contact story, but instead
But
of
they
being...
don't actually make first contact, though. They decide not to.
They've been watching
It's-
humans.
Oh, it's so
and
gross.
they're just like, they somehow managed to function and build societies, even though it's just a bag of meat.
They're made of meat. They're just shoving air through their nasty, vibrating meat sacks to make noise. And it made me really dislike being human. Not that I didn't dislike
It's
it
a very,
before.
it's a very, very interesting look at potential first contacts and why aliens aren't
a great
contacting us.
story.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
great
really
story.
good.
It was one of the first science fiction things I ever read, and I was too young to understand they were referring to humans. I thought it was like these aliens made out of like meatloaf or something.
So like Super Meat Boy, but that's the alien.
Kinda, yeah.
All right,
Who
That's
wrote
how I
this?
pictured it. I was horrified.
don't remember.
I listened to an author interview of this guy explaining it, and I still don't remember his name.
No, but it is a very good story, and it's
There's
also
a film adaptation of it.
there's a film
It was
adaptation.
originally written for radio,
Excellent.
and the radio versions of it, there's tons of them out there, are really cool, really creepy.
So
Yeah.
Terry Bison.
It just makes me think of Lady Gaga wearing that dress
with the
covered in
meat
raw
dress,
meat.
yeah. That happens. But yeah, the human body is a nightmare. I can't wait until we can download ourselves into different ones.
Yeah, that's what gets me about the one like horror genre that properly scares me is definitely body horror from the 80s and 90s. It's just the weirdest stuff because it's like, oh man, the human body just is weird.
It's just real gross.
Yeah, it's bizarre and it's strange. I mean, it's cool, but it's like, oh gosh, all right.
Remember, you as a person are actually just a brain, which is sort of like a chewed up wad of gum that is stuck in a bone that is stuck inside a meat bag.
Okay.
It's thinking electric fat.
Yes.
I'm slightly offended that you just referred to the brain as a chewed up wad of gum.
That's what it looks like.
As a neuroscience major.
That's what it looks like.
It is pretty gross, though.
It's gross looking. It's made of mostly
brain.
fat.
Spinal cord.
Oh.
Not a murderer. He was in a psychology class.
I get to dissect one in like a week. It'll be
Sweet.
Get to dissect a brain?
a human brain.
Nice.
Did they
Emery
tell you
is
the
like
cause of
bringing
death
two.
beforehand?
I don't know.
Okay.
I genuinely don't know what they're gonna do.
I'm
Oh no!
I'm sorry.
No. You can tell if the cause of death was a shot to the head because it's just a pile of chunks on them.
You can see strokes in the brain. That was the one we held.
Oy.
They had a stroke the week before, and I was holding their brain in my hands.
Okay, now I really don't want to do this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. Can we talk about one of my favorite conspiracies?
Yes.
Is that birds aren't real.
Wait, why has that ever been a conspiracy?
It's a meme conspiracy.
It's a
like,
meme
like the one that
conspiracy.
says Finland isn't real.
I love
But it's
that
great.
One,
It's great.
Or
Like-
North Dakota isn't real.
North Dakota
I've
isn't
seen
real.
Australia.
Yeah. No,
I haven't seen that one.
no.
It doesn't make any sense.
Massachusetts isn't real. That one's also
Why?
That's where all the
I gotta
leagues
beg
are.
to differ on that one.
Well, if you're from Massachusetts, you're also not real. I'm sorry.
Luckily, no, I am not. I've been to Boston. I don't like it very much, but like I know it's real because there's so much of America concentrated in Massachusetts that it has to be. North Dakota,
Like-
I'm terribly sorry. I'm terribly sorry.
No, like you can look up the. It's like they think that the entirety of Massachusetts is like this liminal space.
Ooh.
So like it doesn't actually exist, but it makes everyone think it exists.
Why does it make me envision
Okay.
carnage then? Why is Walden Pond a giant lake? What the heck?
Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay, alright, fair enough.
Great.
You okay there?
I'm going through every possible conspiracy, but it's more of an existential version of it. Just like
Yeah.
all senses are fake.
I mean, they are
Because
though.
They
Oh, no.
really are. Oh, they so totally are. And I like really want to do research in sense perception, and everything's fake. And if you can't sense it, then how do you know it's there? And everything's fake.
Well,
Everything
like
is
at
fake.
that point, that's like
Nothing's real.
so like you can only act based off of your perception. You just kind of have to accept you can't know what's beyond it.
But
So,
I need to know. You don't
No,
understand.
you can't get anywhere by questioning that because there's an inherent limit to how far you can figure it out.
I will be studying this until it makes sense.
It would be nice if humans had an organ capable of objectively perceiving reality.
Well, I mean, we can chemically do that. Like, but it depends on what's objective. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
we can identify
First we
chemically
have-
what's around us.
Like from a philosophical point of view, everything can be broken down by like you just ask what do you mean again or how do you know? How do you know? And eventually you reach an end point of you just say, I don't. I have the senses I have available and you just got to go on that because you really don't have anything else. There isn't anything else to go off of, so you just you don't have a choice. Even if it isn't reality, you don't have a choice of picking another one, so just go with it.
I'm going to use my fake senses in order to investigate how senses work so I can prove that they're fake. That's my goal.
Right.
This podcast is making me go into an existential crisis.
So we're doing a good job.
Sorry.
No, it's cool. But getting back onto the whole birds aren't real thing.
Definitely.
Because, the theory of the whole birds aren't real thing is that, like, they were all killed in, like, the 1940s.
Why?
By the government.
Why?
Which government?
By the
The
U.S.
government.
government.
The overarching government.
No, by the U.S. government, and they were all replaced with like drones that are watching us at all
Drones from the
times.
40s? Like, what kind of drones did they
Yeah.
have in the 40s?
They're all watching us.
I guess.
That probably goes into like the government Illuminati conspiracies.
Oh, okay.
They're always
Okay,
watching
okay.
you. You know, they've got all this technology. Like the bird drones are probably from Area 51. You know,
Okay.
it's like
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
But why birds are so ridiculously diverse? Like all birds, really?
like
Birds are weird.
like,
Have you
birds are
considered
weird.
an emu?
Pigeons at the very least.
pigeons at the very least.
Like penguins? Are penguins not real?
Chickens?
Well, chickens are real. They made drones that could lay chicken eggs just for the realism factor.
Wouldn't that be hilarious? Like with penguins, because penguins are actually prey for leopard seals. That'd be hilarious if they were just like, they were drones just covered in tofu or something, and all leopard seals were vegetarians and they just didn't know it. That'd be pretty hilarious.
That's a new conspiracy theory. That's a hot take right there.
Birds are made of tofu.
Extrapolating out. I'm just assuming.
Oh yeah, in the science fictional future, all birds will be made of tofu and
They're all soybean products. Yes.
I'm taking an evolutionary ornithology class at the zoo this semester where we get to play with birds the whole time, but the professor teaching it is a herpetologist who's convinced that birds aren't birds.
that they're
Like,
you know
they
like
shouldn't
lizards.
be well, yes.
Yeah.
Essentially, birds
Should
are
be reclassified as dinosaurs?
should be reclassified as reptiles because there's not like enough of a
Really?
biological difference to justify putting them in a different category, but they're not cold-blooded.
Yeah.
So that's the main
Yeah.
like everyone's arguing it over
Well,
point.
it's like-
but
Huh.
It'll
Because
be
like
fun.
eventually
Yeah, absolutely.
the lines kind of are arbitrary because mammals also broke off from reptiles, and like when people count us. If it,
But, like,
it
birds are
depends-
still a lot closer.
It depends on your phylogenetic analysis choice. Like taxonomy exists to make analysis more convenient, right? Like I mean, in astronomy, for example, right? What Ceres, the potentially dwarf planet, is classified as, kind of is based on what kind of research you're working on and how it fits into that research. And so it could be
Yeah.
a random body, or it could be a dwarf planet, or it could be something else. I forget what all the different things are, but. Like, I feel like the same thing can apply for biological taxonomy.
that
If
makes
you're
sense.
like studying evolutionary history,
That's why he wants it to be reptiles.
Birds are useful to be thought of as like dinosaurs and reptiles because it's a very direct lineage from
From the T-Rex to the
specific-
chicken.
Yes.
well, not
Yeah.
well, Maniraptorans more generally in the theropod branch, but then like in some cases it's useful to think of like early mammals as really just like hairy reptiles.
I'm a hairy reptile.
Yes, that's right.
This is what I've taken
Because
away.
like early mammals developed around
No,
like the late
yeah.
Permian throughout the Triassic. I don't know exactly if there is even a clear, but that's the thing. There's no clear marking point. It depends on what kind of
Like,
research
when
you're
you-
trying to do.
Yeah, he's definitely studying evolutionary ornithology, and
Technically,
that's definitely
everything-
why he's salty about
Everything
it.
could be
but
fish.
No, fish are their
Fish.
own category of weird. All right,
fish are.
I would exclude arthropods, of course.
fish are
That's fair.
not. It's not okay. Fish are not okay.
Not.
Do you
What's
have-
wrong with
Fish.
Do you have a personal vendetta against fish?
They're just listen, okay? They don't breathe normally. They're just
Don't breathe
What about
air.
lungfish?
Damn it.
What about lungfish?
Don't talk about lungfish. We're not talking about lungfish.
Fish are cool. Fish do some weird stuff.
Weird.
It's
Because it's a fish.
Exactly what it sounds like. It has. What
Yeah.
Is it,
So
air-breathing
I mean,
lungs?
it's
Yeah.
amphibious basically. It can breathe air and water, but it still needs to keep wet. They live in very arid areas, and during droughts, they'll actually like form these little like mud cocoons that store water really efficiently, and they'll just sit in it until it rains again. And people will break them out and eat them for food during droughts, and for water too. A lot of desert ecosystems like depend on these kinds of, not just lungfish do it. Certain like toads, I think, do it too. But various amphibious species do this to like preserve water, and so it's actually a really good source of water for many predators during drier seasons.
Okay, first off, that's pretty cool. And second off, do people think that they're like connected to some sort of evolutionary bridge
I'm sure they
between
are.
sea creatures
Lungfish?
and moving on to land?
I wouldn't say it's an I would say it's a convergent evolution because I don't know. This is me speculating because I don't know that much about lungfish. But if I were to guess, most things don't stay unchanging long-term evolutionarily. A few exceptions being like cockroaches, coelacanth, crocodilians to some extent. But so I would say the lungfish is like convergent evolution rather than one thing that happened and stayed the same. And so it's like probably originally some different fish that followed a similar path along how tetrapods originally developed. I say tetrapods, I think fish technically count as tetrapods.
Don't worry about it.
Crickets in the room. We don't know.
We don't know, man. I don't know.
I don't know either. This is my speculation. I don't...
Yeah.
I'm an engineer. I don't know this.
Oh,
it's a hobby.
well,
It's a hobby.
Yeah.
Well, I was like, how do you know this?
I like prehistoric life a lot, and so I read about evolution and phylogeny a lot.
We got any conspiracy theories about lungfish?
They're not real.
They're not real.
You know what?
I mean,
They're also not okay. Don't worry about it.
Are vampires mammals?
vampires
talking about blood
are
specific.
fake.
Yes.
No, but
They're
Like-
bats. They're bats. Bats are mammals.
imagine.
Bats are mammals, and so are wolves, and the original vampires could turn into bats or wolves.
Okay, yeah,
Wait,
that
really?
does
I
make
didn't
sense.
know that.
Yeah.
I thought they could just control wolves.
They can turn into both.
Dracula can he can turn to wolf.
Okay, but
the
like
original-
vampires are like a real species of bat, by the way. Like,
Yeah,
we all know
vampire
this, right?
bats, yes.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
yeah, absolutely.
But he's talking about the
Vampires,
Yeah, I
the-
know,
like the
I know.
folklore where they're usually portrayed as not having blood in them, but they subsist off other people's blood.
Well, they're also undead. So can you
Yes.
classify something that's undead as any type of life?
That is a good
I
question.
don't think
That
they
is a
count
good
as
That is a good
mammals.
question.
Well, I mean, a dead body is still a mammal, even if it's dead.
No, it's just dead.
I mean,
It
I
was
think,
a
like,
mammal,
I think
and now
it
it's
depends
dead.
on the mechanism by which the undeath is achieved. Also, like, is it
Yeah.
kind of like a revived corpse, or is it like
Is it a
really,
revived
really
mammal?
dead
Is
but
it-
moving around?
I
Is
would,
it like-
I would say a zombie in voodoo would still basically be because they're still technically alive. They've been put into a coma trance.
Okay,
But-
that
but
one's
a
just
vampire-
that's
gonna
just
say-
a that one's just a human that one's just a human being
Yeah.
in a coma
Oh,
trance.
sure,
That
okay.
one's just a mammal.
Sure.
I'm gonna
But
say
a
there's still
vampire is
mammals though, 'cause,
fundamentally
like,
different than a human body that's dead and then brought back to life because they do
Right.
things they can do things humans cannot.
Yeah, and there's also like
So-
various bits of lore that the taxonomy would get weird.
I don't
Yeah.
think vampires are mammals.
Okay, all right, that's
I
fair.
think
Do we need
I think
another-
the undead have their own section,
Sure,
probably.
sure, okay.
Their own evolutionary
Their
branch.
own evolutionary chain.
Yeah.
The evolution of
I don't know.
vampires is also my new band name.
That was actually, I like that a lot.
Yeah, that's gonna be the album.
Oh yeah,
That's gonna be the
Sorry,
album.
that's the
gonna be
album
the
title.
album title. I like
the
that.
album title.
You should pitch that to Vampire Weekend.
The evolution of
I'm coming
vampires.
up more with album titles than band names. I
Yeah.
just like album titles a lot because you
Album
can get
titles
really
are good.
creative with them. Definitely. Like criticizing God. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I like that as an album. I want to make an album like that.
Yeah.
Someday.
But no, the future in which we have a bunch of undead or supernatural creatures walking around, taxonomy is gonna get even weirder.
Yes.
I feel like they'll just stop caring about taxonomy.
I mean,
You've never
hypothetically-
actually met like there's so many biologists that would jump at the chance.
Hypothetically, if this happened, I think they would be taxonomically classified in the same grouping of the once living species. Because, like, I mean, comparatively, look at like a taxidermy. We don't. It doesn't stop being like the same animal grouping.
Yeah, but
is
it
just
also
because it's
doesn't
dead.
have the ability to shapeshift and fly and drink other things' blood. Like, it's no longer a raccoon
So then
if
we
it's
would
stuffed
probably
and also
analyze it
magical.
as like some kind of hyper evolution of the original state.
I think it should be, instead of biology, diology, and just be an entirely different subject.
Right?
Biology, yes.
Does
Oh,
anyone
but-
know if blood has calories?
I'm sure it does. It's
Probably.
got glucose in
Yeah,
it
it's gotta.
because
Who wants to
calories
find
are
out?
just a unit of energy, and blood carries
Water is
energy.
basically the only thing that has no calories.
And even then, that would have to be like really pure water
Yeah.
because it's always
Yeah,
got
no,
something.
blood definitely has
I drink
calories.
8 ounces of human blood. How many calories am I gonna get?
It depends on what that
How much
person is eating.
do I
mean,
need? How much blood do I need to drink a day before I have my daily caloric intake?
Which would always also be an interesting question.
A new
Because,
weight loss
like,
diet.
do
Drink
vampires
only
have
blood
to?
and eat nothing else.
Do
Oh,
vampires have
Lord.
to eat all night to get all of the calories they need?
well, but they also have no mechanism for transporting the calories through their body. So I don't, like, this is...
Plus, if they're undead,